Welcome to District 1, the podcast. Your host is Michelle Valenzuela. She is joined by Dr. Gabriel Trujillo.
That was Natalia Escamilla, a 7th grade student at a Hollinger K-8 school, bringing us in today. Hello, Dr. Trujillo. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing well. It's great to be back. Thank you. And hello to all of our listeners. Thank you for continuing to tune in.
So we're about 1 week into this walkout. What can you tell us about what's happening now? Can you give us an overall update?
Last night, the governing board took action to send the district into a state of a non-paid closure for all employees that are less than 12 months for the duration of this walkout.
And how is that different from what we have been doing for Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday?
It's different in the sense that for Thursday, April 26th, Friday, April 27th, and Monday, April 30th, and Tuesday, May 1st, what we had were just regular contract days where employees could call in an absence, either a sick or a personal day, get paid for that sick or personal day taken. And employees who choose to return to work were able to return to work on those 4 days, essentially regular contract days. I said in my previous broadcast that we were treating those 4 days no differently than any other day of the year, where on any given day of the year you have employees that call in and you have employees that don't call in and show up to work. That's why we've given employees personal days and sick days. What's different now, in the state of a non-paid closure, now no employees other than 12-month employees will be able to actually come into work, and no employees will be able to receive pay or compensation for calling in and taking a personal day or a vacation days. So any employees that have taken sick days or personal days for Thursday, Friday of last week, Monday, April 30th, even yesterday, May 1st, they're still going to get paid for those days. We're talking about today, Wednesday, May 2nd, moving forward for the duration of this work stoppage.
Okay, and it's my understanding that we're in that situation now because now that the schools are on what we're calling a hard closure, meaning employees can't come to work, time is likely to be added when the schools reopen. And for those contracted, certified, non-12-month employees, they'll have the opportunity to work when the time is added, right? So we can't pay for today and then, or a closed day and additional time. Is that correct? And is that why they can't get paid now when they could get paid yesterday?
Correct. It's a cost savings issue. Our budget can't sustain paying people twice. So I want to apologize for using the term furlough, because in a furlough situation, days are just eliminated, okay? And that's not this situation. This is a work stoppage. This is a non-paid temporary closure. So what we're doing is we're saying, look, because now we've had to close the district, we can't let you continue to call in and take personal and sick days, then turn around and have to pay you again when we bring you back, because now we have to add an extra contract day at the end of the calendar, or we have to add extra time. So that's exactly right. It's not being able to afford having to pay thousands of employees twice.
Okay, and the 12-month employees, when we talk about that, we're talking about people who are on a 12-month work calendar, not people who get paid over 12 months because they chose summer pay or whatever. And those employees are different. As I understand it, just getting verification here, an employee on a 12-month contract can work because they work. They don't have a certain number of contracted days. They work every day regardless of whether schools are open or closed. That's people like who work in the district offices and things like that. So that's why they can continue. They're not in a situation where they will be paid twice.
Correct. 12-month employees, it's a different contract structure. They're with us 5 days a week, 12 months, a year. They're already budgeted for, and extending our school year doesn't affect them at all.
When we talk about adding time when schools reopen, how are we figuring out how we're going to do that? Whether we're going to add time to a day or add days to the week, to the end of the year? How are you figuring out how that will look.
I think it's important if you're a high school to understand that the positive thing about not having a district-wide non-paid closure Thursday, April 26th, Friday, April 27th, Monday, April 30th, and Tuesday, May 1st, is instead of having 5 days to try to make up, you only have 1. Today is the actual first day that we will have to look at high schools and say how much time do they have to replace. We can safely make up today and tomorrow, Thursday, May 3rd, without having to have kids come back after a graduation ceremony. It gets trickier if we go into Friday, May 4th. So now the way we get into making up that time is we work collaboratively with Tucson Education Association leadership, building administration to take a look at what's the easiest way to make up that time. Can we get teacher agreement? Can we get TEA agreement to help us make up that time either by extending a school day, by extending some class periods, or working with us to look at one of the existing professional development days and sort of using those days to run classes and make up time.
And will we also have to work with transportation on all of this if we extend days, if we add days?
They're really here to serve the schools, and they've been incredibly wonderful in all this, and they're ready to modify and adjust due to the need to make up instructional time.
Why are we not announcing that school is back on Thursday?
We've received no indication that it's a 100% guarantee that our teachers are going to come back on Thursday. Throughout this whole process, we've been entirely dependent upon communications from the governor's office, from the legislature, and from Arizona Educators United. When the Arizona Educators United called for a teacher walkout to begin on April 26th, they called for that on Friday, the previous Friday. We saw immediately teachers calling in, an instant reaction, which gave us an opportunity to react and plan. When the Arizona Educators United called for a continuation of the teacher walkout on Monday, April 30th, they called for that on Friday, April 27th. We saw an immediate teachers calling in. So we know that their announcements have weight in this movement. So they've made a most recent announcement that has said that teachers will only be back in classes on Thursday if this legislature passes the governor's budget. That's a big if. There are several provisions of the budget, most notably and most controversially, a provision that directly affects the residents of Pima County, and specifically the homeowners inside of the Tucson Unified School District. We have many employees, not just parents, but employees that own homes and properties inside of Tucson Unified attendance boundaries. In fact, we have 3,161 employees either living or owning homes or both inside of Tucson Unified attendance boundaries. And when you have a provision that seeks to raise their taxes by almost 10% by moving the desegregation tax levy from the primary rate, which is largely up to this point paid by the state, now into the secondary rate, which moves that deseg tax levy to the 100% responsibility financially of the homeowner by raising the tax. You have a pretty significant tax increase affecting one single district outside of a ballot measure. And that is in no way something that our Pima County residents are taking lightly. We've already heard a lot of feedback from parents and employees that are frustrated, feeling singled out. I think that's going to create a lot of resistance to this budget. I don't think it's a slam dunk that with that kind of a provision that there's going to be a 100% guaranteed vote for approval on Wednesday. And that's why we've been hesitant. One of the many reasons we've been hesitant to jump out there and say it's an automatic guarantee. Everybody's coming back on Thursday.
So the governing board, as you mentioned, closed the district to employees and students. That means that we are saying we are closed until teachers return, correct?
That's correct. We are now closed. We don't have to do any more daily announcements. We're in a state of non-paid closure, which means no classes, no instructional services, no supervision of kids. We're in that state until we make a formal announcement that we're coming out of that state and resuming classes. That's directly determined by the amount of employees, specifically teachers, that we have that will be committed to coming back to work if and when there's a formal announcement that the walkout is officially ended.
And how will you know how many teachers want to come back?
Well, we have a system already worked out. I mean, we're going to have to call them. We're going to have to use the communications department. We're going to have to say, for example, this budget has been passed. AEU has made a call for the walkout to end. We will be opening school tomorrow. I think we're going to need at least a day between when we want to start school, okay, and when that announcement is made. For example, if today is Wednesday and there is an immediate call to end this walkout and the governor's budget has been passed and everything's a go, it's going to take us Thursday to put things on social media, to have employees called individually, to have principals make phone calls, to feel good about starting Friday morning. So we're going to need a day to mobilize.
Okay, and we have been using the email address answers@TUSD1.org. For parents and employees who may not be getting our emails and our automated phone calls, if you could please send your name and the school you're associated with to answers@TUSD1.org. We will look at your account and do our best to make sure it's up to date. It would be great to do that as soon as possible so that when we do send messages that way about schools reopening, you get them. But again, we'll also have the backup on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our website, so you can look at all those sites. And of course, we will let the local media know, and they will, I'm sure, include that in their broadcasts. So what happens next?
Well, what happens next is we prepare for teachers to come back. We hope that that's soon. Let's take, for example, that today is May 2nd. The governor's budget officially enters the legislative process known as a reading by the Committee of the Whole. There are several provisions that are controversial, namely the tax increase for the residents of Pima County and the Tucson Unified Boundary. So anything can happen today. There could be extended arguments and floor debates going deep into the evening. So we are monitoring events at the Capitol to see what the governor's budget looks like, if it's going to get passed, or if further amendments are going to be made. That's going to help us understand if and when this work stoppage will be called to an official close. We do not view the announcement yesterday by the Arizona Educators United as an official close of this work stoppage. They specifically said teachers are ready to return to work if the governor's budget is approved on Wednesday. That to me is not an unconditional announcement that the work stoppage is over as of Thursday.
We're recording this on Wednesday, almost a week into this. Do you support the Red for Ed movement?
I have always supported the Red for Ed movement. I support increased funding for public education, not just teacher salaries, but student support services, higher salaries for classified employees, all of our education support professionals, for our teachers' assistants, for our administrative assistants, our monitors, our bus drivers, our custodial, instructional technology specialists. I support increased funding for capital, for deferred maintenance projects, for more buses, for capital technology, for computers, for textbooks. That's never been an issue for me. I continue to believe that there is no single action that removes teachers from the classroom or cuts off access to teachers for students that has any kind of a positive outcome or that could ever stand behind. And that's why I continue to say that I cannot support the walkout itself as an action, because it does exactly that. It is remove teachers from classrooms. But the motive to fight, the motive to rally, the motive to the goals of the movement have never been in question for me, and have never received anything other than my full support.
And of course, we will resume classes at schools as soon as we can. Anything else you want to add? Did we miss anything? Anything else on your mind?
I want to thank all of the families, all of the parents, all the community members that have been very supportive and patient with all of us throughout these very difficult times. Please continue to stick in there with us. Hit up our Facebook page, our Twitter, stay close to your phone as we continue to communicate with all of you in the best possible way and the most efficient way and the timeliest way that we possibly can.
And now, Natalia Escamilla, our 7th grade student at Hollinger K-8, is going to take us out by sharing something she has learned in school. Thank you, Natalia.
One thing I learned in school is how to express my opinion and listen to other opinions. This is Natalia Escamilla signing off.